10 hip-hop one-hit wonder. One song, one moment. You know these records. Songs that had the whole block moving, the whole car rocking, the barbershop going crazy.
Yeah, baby, sure, you're right.
Songs that blew up so fast and so loud that when they disappeared, most people just assumed the artist must still be out there somewhere doing something.
Can you dig it? Can y'all dig it?
Some of them got swallowed by the label system. Some of them had their moments stolen by people in suits, making decisions they never saw coming. Some of them just ran out of road, and a couple of them left behind a legacy so undeniable that the industry should have been fighting to keep them going.
Just bust the move.
And if you were alive and paying attention when these records dropped, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's start at number 10. Number 10, Paperboy, Diddy, 1993. If you slept on this one, that's okay, because the industry helped you do exactly that. 1993, Oakland, California. A 20-year-old kid named N.W.A. Maxfield steps out under the name Paperboy and drops a record called Diddy that sounds like the entire Bay Area distilled into 4 minutes. Easy going, funky, effortless in the way that only real ones pull off when they're not trying to convince you of anything, and it worked. Diddy climbed all the way to number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100, top 10 on a national chart. Coming out of Oakland in the middle of the era when G-Funk was king and the Bay had its own thing going on, and this kid found a lane between the two and wrote it like he'd been doing it his whole life. Here's what's wild about this. He was on Motion Records, a small independent out of the Bay, distributed through Jive, so you had this independent energy pushing a major league record, and for one single moment, it worked perfectly. You probably had this playing in your car that summer. Maybe you didn't even know his real name. That was the vibe, just that song, just Diddy. But then the follow-up album came out, and the single didn't bite. The distribution wasn't there, and the label couldn't push it the same way. And just like that, Paperboy was gone. Not because the talent evaporated, not because the music stopped being good. The machine just decided it was done with him. And here's the part that gets me. If Diddy had come out today with streaming and social media pushing it, that man would have had a career. But in 1993, if the label didn't put the muscle behind you after the first hit, it was over before you could blink. The Bay never forgot him, but the mainstream, it moved on like he never existed. Number 9, Positive K, I Got a Man, 1992.
Now you're talking, baby. That's the ticket.
1992, the Bronx. A rapper named Positive K, born Daryl Gibson, drops a record called I Got a Man. And before I even get into what happened to him, let me tell you what was happening on the record, because this is the part people gloss over.
I just want to get together.
How you talking? Psh, whatever.
We can't have.
You know the premise. Guy tries to step to a girl. Girl shuts him down with I Got a Man. Back and forth. Funny. Real relatable. Here's the thing though, every single line on that record, both sides of the conversation, the man and the woman, that's Positive K.
No, it's not that, so you don't understand. I said I'll put it, I got a man.
He pitched his own voice up in the studio to play the woman's part. They originally planned to have MC Lyte do it, but she was on a different label and the paperwork didn't work out. So rather than delay the record or scrap the concept, he did the whole thing himself. And you know what? You couldn't tell. That's how good the execution was.
It all depends.
Well, if we can't be lovers, then we can't be friends.
Well, then I guess it
The record peaked at number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100, gold certified. You know how hard it was to get to number 14 on the Hot 100 as an underground Bronx rapper in 1992. That song competed against everything, pop, R&B, the whole landscape, and it sat at 14.
Not one of those girls that go whipping around.
I'm not a duck, baby, so don't play me like a clown.
But here's where the story turns. His debut album, The Skills That Pay the Bills, didn't produce another hit. The label attention dried up. Island Records wasn't in the business of developing artists who didn't immediately deliver a follow-up single. That's the industry's oldest trick.
Flashback, remember, I'm not crabbing it. You know my style, but I'm not having it.
All I remember.
One miss and you're a liability. Didn't matter that the concept was brilliant. Didn't matter that the execution was on point. The algorithm of the early 90s, radio programmers, label politics, promotional budgets. It decided Positive K had had his moment.
What your man got to do with me?
I told ya.
I'm not trying to hear that, see?
And if you're nodding right now, you've seen this before. You've watched somebody you knew have their one shot and get frozen out when it didn't immediately multiply. It's a specific kind of frustration because you know the talent is still there.
The man got to do with me.
I got a man.
I'm not trying to hear that. What am
Positive K disappeared into semi-obscurity, still creating. But the mainstream moved on in 1993 and never looked back.
Your DJ money.
boom, bada, my pockets is getting fatter. I want to turn you.
Real talk. Only 9% of you watching this are actually subscribed. That hurts a little, not gonna lie. We spend hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life because this music deserves to be remembered. And you're here because you care about that too. So if these videos mean something to you, if you've ever said, damn, I didn't know that, or felt something while watching, just hit subscribe. It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube to show this to more people who love this music like we do. Let's build this together. All right, back to the story. Number 8, Tag Team, Whoop. There it is, 1993. This one sold over 4 million copies in the United States, and they still disappeared. 1992, Atlanta, Georgia. Two guys, Cecil Glenn, who went by D.C. the Brain Supreme, and Steve Gibson, known as Steve Roan, write a song in August of 1992.
Fool, can you dig it? Can y'all dig it?
Tag Team. The record is called Whoop. There it is. It's Miami-based energy filtered through Atlanta. It's the kind of song that sounds like a party even when you're listening to it alone in your apartment at 11 in the morning. Now here's what you might not know.
Upside down and
They pressed up 500 cassette singles themselves. That's it, 500. Put them in one store in the West End Mall in Atlanta. The plan was to get it into the clubs, let the record breathe on its own, and then the blizzard of 1993 hits.
Cause I'm pushing up daisies, the underground sound that you have found amazing, outstanding,
The city shuts down for a week, and somehow in a storm, in a city that's completely closed, those 500 singles sold out in 4 days. When a Columbia Records representative happened to be in an Atlanta club and heard the record, the wheels started turning. By the time 1993 was fully underway, whoop, there it is, was everywhere. Peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. The only song keeping it from number 1 was Nothing That Weekend. They were that close. 4 million plus copies moved, and you know what? They even had the Addams Family Whoop version for the Addams Family movie. Corporate crossover visibility, major label machinery.
W-H-O-O-M-P as I flow to the flight from the school of.
But here's the problem, the follow-up didn't land. Addams Family Whoop got you nostalgia plays, but no new hip-hop identity. And in the mid-90s, when the genre shifted hard toward the gritty and the cinematic, Biggie, Nas, Wu-Tang, Pac, a party record from Atlanta, didn't have a home anymore. Tag Team was a Miami-based story trying to survive in a landscape that had moved into an entirely different emotional register. 4 million copies sold, and the culture filed them under one-hit wonder before the decade was out. DC and Steve are still alive, still performing on the nostalgia circuit. But the mainstream said whoomp once and never said it again.
Rock the mic. I crave skin rip. Find a honey dip to dip it in. Slam dunk it.
Number 7, Wreckx-N-Effect, Rump Shaker, 1992. What seems like a simple party record has layers underneath it that most people never dug into. Harlem, New York, 1987. 3 young friends form a group: Akko Davidson, Brandon Mitchell, and Markel Riley. The thing you need to know about Markel Riley is that his older brother is Teddy Riley, the architect of New Jack Swing, the producer who built Michael Jackson's Remember the Time, the man who essentially defined the sound of early 90s R&B. Markel isn't in the game because of his brother. But having that connection means access to production talent that most groups could never dream of. By 1989, they've released their first album on Motown. It's decent, it moves, but here's where the story breaks your heart a little.
Like a subwoofer, shake it to the left, shake it to the right. I don't mind sticking it to her.
Original member Brandon Mitchell, Marco's half-brother, one of the founding voices of the group, is shot and killed on August 8, 1990. Gone at a young age, the group that built something together now has to figure out how to keep going without one of its architects. And they did. Down to a duo, Akil and Markel, they came back in 1992 with an album called Hard or Smooth, and the lead single was Rump Shaker, produced by Teddy Riley at his new Future recording studios in Virginia Beach.
Shake it, don't stop her. Let me see you do the booty hop, and now make the booty stop. Now
it peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 2 in the whole country. The only thing that stopped it from reaching number 1 was Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You from the Bodyguard soundtrack, which was, let's be honest, an immovable object. But here's what I didn't know until I started digging. That verse Teddy Riley raps on Rump Shaker, those lyrics were written by a 17-year-old kid from Virginia Beach who was just starting to hang around Riley's studio. That kid was Pharrell Williams. Rump Shaker was Pharrell's first credited work in hip-hop. Years before the Neptunes, years before Happy and Get Lucky, and every Grammy on his shelf. It started right there. Their third album in 1996 flopped. The label moved on. The moment passed, and whether that was business or betrayal, honestly, I'll let you decide. They deserved a longer run, and so did Brandon Mitchell. Rest easy. Number 6, Young MC, Bust a Move, 1989.
One to cure your lonely condition. Looking for love in all the wrong places. No fine girls.
1989, Los Angeles, California. A kid named Marvin Young, born in London, raised in Queens, educated at the University of Southern California, where he got a degree in economics, is about to change the landscape.
Goodness saking, they want a man who brings home the bacon. Got no money and you got no car.
But before he changes it under his own name, he changes it for someone else. While still a student at USC, Marvin writes Wild Thing for Tone Loc. Wild Thing goes to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. At that moment, the highest charting rap record in history.
This here's a jam for all the fellas. Try to do what those ladies tell us. Get shot.
Then he writes Funky Cold Medina for Tone Loc. That goes to number 3. 2 massive hits, written by the same college kid who was riding to the studio because he didn't have a car yet. By the time he drops his own single in May of 1989, Bust a Move under the name Young MC, the pressure is immense.
She says, hello, come sit next to me, you fine fellow. You run over there without a second to lose.
He'd helped create the 2 biggest rap records of the year. For someone else, now he had to prove he wasn't just a pen for hire. Bust a Move stayed on the Billboard Hot 100 for 39 weeks. The bass line was played by Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who got a session fee and almost didn't end up in the video. The track peaked at number 7, and in February of 1990, at the 32nd Grammy Awards, N.W.A won Best Rap Performance, only the second year that category had ever existed. So you've got the man who ghost-wrote the 2 biggest rap crossover records of 1989 and won a Grammy for his own hit in the same year.
Joke just to get some play, then you try to make a move and she says no way. Girls are faking.
That's a resume. That's a foundation. And the album Stone Cold Rhymin' went platinum. But then the second album didn't connect. Delicious Vinyl moved on. N.W.A spent years fighting to be seen as more than the Bust a Move guy.
Your best friend Harry has a brother Larry in.
He kept recording, kept performing, but the industry had already decided his ceiling. And if you've ever done incredible work, watched someone else shine from it, then tried to step out of the shadows on your own terms and still got overlooked anyway, you already know how that feels.
Situation, but every dark tunnel has a light of hope, so don't hang yourself with a celibate rope.
He's still out here performing, but his name isn't in the conversation the way it should be.
In the city, ladies look pretty. Guys tell jokes so they can seem witty. Tell a funny.
Number 5, Quad City DJs. Come On and Ride It, The Train, 1996.
I can see you wanna hide it. Come on, just keep riding. And please don't.
1996, Orlando, Florida. A group called the Quad City DJs, led by a DJ and producer named C.C. Lemon, drops a record called Come On and Ride It, The Train. And that thing goes to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Number 1 in the whole country.
Graduated from Boone, up the Alizé. You're looking tough to death.
Summer of 1996. You know that bass line, you know that chant. If you were alive in 96, that song got into every gym, every block party, every school dance, every wedding reception within 12 months. You could not escape it. And here's the part that should not have happened.
Your next to kid, your sister and your friend, pack up that.
After that number 1 record, they released a follow-up and it barely made a ripple. No second hit, no sustained momentum, no album run that gave the culture something to hold on to. Just gone. The train rolled into the station and never rolled back out. And I want you to think about what that means structurally. A number 1 song in 1996 means hundreds of thousands of units moved, massive radio rotation, massive visibility. Every major label should have been on the phone offering whatever it took to keep that going. The infrastructure should have existed to build something lasting. But the mid-90s music industry had a specific pathology when it came to regional acts with novelty energy. They'd ride the wave, take the profit, and let the artist deal with what came next. The Quad City DJs were from the South.
I can smell them tranquil breezes from a mile away.
And in 1996, the South was still fighting to get its due respect from New York and LA gatekeepers. One monster hit wasn't enough to change that dynamic. You know how hard it is to explain to somebody younger why an artist with a number 1 hit could just vanish? You know that feeling when you try to tell someone who wasn't there and they look at you like you're exaggerating? You're not. That's exactly how it worked back then. Number 4, Apache, Gangsta Bitch, 1992.
Friend puffing on a blunt, sipping on a Heineken. She's got charm, a firearm to
New Jersey, late 1980s. Before Queen Latifah was Queen Latifah on a national level. Before Naughty by Nature was a household name. Before any of that, there was the Flavor Unit.
Fat herringbone and diamond-studded earrings. She's a thoroughbred, walks and talks with class.
A hip-hop collective built in the basement of New Jersey culture, anchored by DJ Mark the 45 Kings production, and held together by a group of MCs with genuine street credibility and undeniable skill.
I need a gangster bitch. I want a gangster bitch, yo.
Anthony Peaks, who went by Apache, was the front man, the first voice, the one who set the standard everybody else had to match. According to Vin Rock from Naughty by Nature, Apache was one of the chief architects of the Flavor Unit. Apache was the first one to call you whack.
I want a with my. I
I wanna.
Without Apache, there would have been no Queen Latifah, no Naughty by Nature. He wasn't a peripheral figure. He was the foundation. In 1992, he finally stepped out as a solo artist, signed to Tommy Boy Records. His album, Apache Ain't Shit, featured the single Gangsta Bitch, produced by Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest.
I need a gangsta bitch. I want a gangsta.
It peaked at number 67 on the Hot 100 and number 11 on the Hot Rap Singles chart. The video got heavy rotation. The record established him as a real solo presence, but the follow-up single, Do For Self, in 1993 didn't catch the same fire.
A porch pulling on a Newport. Mind the business, knows 'cause she hear things.
And then, step by step, Apache faded from the public view. He appeared on Tupac's Strictly For My Niggas. He showed up on Fat Joe's debut. The connections were real, the talent was real, but the momentum wasn't coming back.
I wanna. With my. I wanna.
He walked away from the music industry eventually, found religion, lived quietly in New Jersey. On January 22nd, 2010, he was found in his home by his brother, gone at 45 years old from what Flavor Unit members later described as heart failure. The cause of death was officially undisclosed.
She likes to party with a posse and drink beer. Pour a little bit out for the sisters.
Naughty by Nature found out that morning. Shaquem Compare, Queen Latifah's manager and Flavor Unit's CEO, called them. And here's what Shaquem said publicly. Without Apache, there would have been no Queen Latifah. He built the foundation. He never got to see the house.
Gun shopping for a gun. Likes to dress to impress, quick to attack when your punk ass boys run.
Number 3, Snow, Informer, 1992. Toronto, Canada, 1992. A white kid from a West Indian housing project named Darren O'Brien, who grew up listening to reggae because his neighborhood changed when immigration policies opened the door to Jamaican families, who dropped out of school in 9th grade, who'd been in and out of trouble his whole life, writes a song in jail, literally sits down behind bars, facing serious charges, and writes what will become one of the most unusual #1 records in the history of the Billboard Hot 100. Rick James was his babysitter when he was a child. He gets out on bail, travels to Queens, New York on vacation, meets rapper and producer MC Shine. They make a demo together. A manager named DJ Marvin Prince had been in his corner. They get signed, and then Snow goes back to Canada to face sentencing on an assault charge and does 8 months in prison. Informer, the single, hits the Billboard Hot 100 while he's still behind bars. By the time he's released, it's #1, and it stays there for 7 consecutive weeks. In a stretch where Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg's Nothing But a G Thing was out and couldn't knock it off the top spot. The biggest G-Funk record ever made had to wait for Snow's jail song to finish running. The record became the best-selling reggae single in U.S. history. 12 Inches of Snow sold over 8 million copies worldwide. MTV had to add subtitles to the video because people couldn't understand his patois, a first for the network. And then he was effectively banned from touring the United States because of his criminal record. He couldn't get the work permits. The country that put him at #1 for 7 weeks wouldn't let him perform there. His second single, Girl, I've Been Hurt, reached number 19, and then the machine moved on. He disappeared from U.S. consciousness for over 25 years. When he resurfaced in 2019 on a collaboration with Daddy Yankee called Concama, it was described as a comeback for an artist people had genuinely forgotten existed. The greatest selling reggae single in American history, and the country that bought it wouldn't let him back in. Number 2, Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, It Takes Two, 1988.
An idea that I want to share. You don't like it, so what? I don't care. I'm #1.
Harlem, New York, 1988. Robert Ginyard and Rodney Bryce have been best friends since the 4th grade. They grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same schools. They became Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock.
I'm on a mission, you better just listen to my rhymes cause I'm all about dissing cause.
And in 1988, they released a single called It Takes Two on Profile Records. The foundation of that record is a sample from Lynn Collins' 1972 track Think About It.
I wanna rock right now. I'm Rob Bass and I came to get
That shriek, that bass line, those horns looped and pushed through a groove that felt like the entire history of black music compressed into one moment. Teddy Riley played a role in shaping its production. The record peaked at number 36 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 3 on the Hot Dance Music Chart. It was certified platinum.
and then you get weary out. So that's it, my mother not counterfeit. The record sells, which makes
And here's what critics and historians said about it afterward. This is a direct assessment from AllMusic. There are many critics and listeners who claim that Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock's It Takes Two is the greatest hip-hop single ever cut. It's hard to disagree with them. Spin magazine ranked it number 1 on their list of 100 greatest singles of all time in 1989. Rolling Stone put it at number 116 on their top 500 greatest songs of all time in 2021. That's not one-hit wonder energy. That's a legacy record.
I'm kinda stingy, that's why I don't wanna win. A funky rhyme to a foe or a good friend. Listen.
But here's where the weight settles. Rumors started circulating about sample clearance problems with the follow-up single Joy and Pain. Personal issues crept into the picture. DJ Easy Rock stepped back from the group. Rob Bass went solo. The chemistry that made the original record so undeniable, you can't replicate that by yourself.
I rhyme at a show. The reason why, man, I don't know, so let's go, cause
The solo work didn't connect the same way. They reunited in 1994 for an album called Break of Dawn. It didn't find an audience. And then the years passed. On April 27, 2014, Biz Markie announced on Twitter that DJ Easy Rock had died.
this wanna hit. It won't hurt to listen to Red Alert. Take off the shirt and so it don't hit.
Complications from diabetes. He was 46 years old. Think about that. The man whose voice and turntable work is on arguably the greatest hip-hop single ever recorded died at 46. He was found after years of the industry moving past him, past both of them, past a record that every DJ in the world still reaches for.
Yes, and over mic, I'm known to be the freshest. So let's start, it shouldn't be too hard.
46 years old, and the mainstream had forgotten him so completely by then that a lot of people who were listening to his record at every party didn't even know he was gone. That's the weight of a one-hit wonder story nobody tells you about. The song lives forever. Number 1, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Good Vibrations, 1991. 1991, Boston, Massachusetts. Mark Wahlberg, 19 years old, younger brother of Donnie Wahlberg from New Kids on the Block, someone with a documented history of serious trouble as a teenager, releases a single called Good Vibrations with a group called the Funky Bunch. Now, here's the thing I need you to sit with. This isn't just a guy who happened to rap over a beat. Good Vibrations was built around a sample from Lolita Holloway, had genuine club energy, and topped the most competitive chart in American music. In 1991, hip-hop was in the middle of one of its most creative and politically charged eras.
The vibration's good like sun-kissed. Many wanna know who done this. Marky Mark.
N.W.A. had just dismantled. Public Enemy was peaking. De La Soul, A Tribe Called Quest, and Eric B. and Rakim were rewriting what rap could be. Right in the middle of all that, a white kid from Boston with a complicated past gets to number 1. The cultural politics of that moment were real. And if you were a hip-hop head in 1991, you know exactly how that landed in the barbershop. But here's what separates Mark Wahlberg from every other name on this list. He didn't get dropped, he didn't fade, he didn't fight the industry and lose. He looked at what the music was offering him and made a deliberate decision. This isn't my lane. He put the rap career down, transitioned to modeling, then to acting. became one of the highest paid and most prolific actors in Hollywood. Boogie Nights, The Departed, Transformers, Uncharted. A career that has outlasted almost every decision anyone else on this list was forced to make. He didn't vanish because the industry abandoned him. He vanished because he abandoned it. And here's where it gets philosophical. Every other person on this list would have given anything for the choice he had. Rob Bass was fighting sample clearances and watching his partner drift away from the game. Apache was walking away from music to find God because the industry wasn't giving him what he needed. N.W.A was a Grammy winner who couldn't get his label to care. Snow was literally banned from the country that made him famous. And Marky Mark, at the peak of his visibility with a #1 record and the full attention of the industry, just decided it wasn't enough.
Come on, feel it.
And whether that takes courage or whether that's a kind of privilege the others never had, I'll let you sit with that one.
So feel